This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talks. Are you serious? Right here on Northeast Streaming Sports. We're airing live this morning on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You'll catch this show at noon on Roku. Get those Roku devices installed, guys. Our Roku numbers are starting to shoot through the roof. So please if you don't have a Roku stick or whatever you need, get it. And, pass it on to your friends. Also, share this show with your friends. Get them to invite them to Northeast Streaming Sports. Invite them to TGI Sports Talk, all of that. So we welcome you all in on this last weekend in June. Last weekend in June. Gosh, this month has flown by. Today we're going to chat a little bit. I'll be joined by my co-host, the Mad New Yorker, Carlos Chavez, in just a second. We're going to dive into last night's NBA draft. Some strange happenings. Strange happenings at number one, where Jabari Smith was odds on. I mean, you can bet on anything on the sports apps, guys. He was a huge favorite here earlier this week, about 600. Bet 100. He had to bet 600, I think, to win 100 earlier this week. And anyway, we'll talk about what happened there. We'll talk about the Knicks and their strange night. Maybe even a little Nets conversation, because Kyrie's still up in the air. Kevin Durant, will he stay? Will he go? Depending on Kyrie. Does Kyrie go back to LeBron? And does anybody really care? We'll talk about Arch Manning again, because the Arch Manning update now is that Arch Manning's made a decision to go to Texas. Very interesting call. Certainly choosing his own path, as it were. And if we have some time, we'll dive into the Yankees and the Mets and some of what their trade deadline needs might look like. But we got a lot to cover. And don't forget, by the way, the Dream Ride Experience. Northeast Streaming Sports is a huge sponsor of this event. It's a great cause, raising lots of money for the home front. Here I go again, forgetting what that organization is. It's out in Farmington, Connecticut. There's some great causes. They're helping a lot of different types of groups that need money. So watch this quick clip, and then I'll bring Carlos in, and we'll get the show started.
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride Experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
So as I said, a great cause, and get out there. If it's a nice day, it's going to be a beautiful ride out there, and who knows, you'll have lots of fun. I may get out there, as I said, hopefully on that Saturday, depending on the weather and what my social secretary has planned for me. So real quick before I bring in Carlos, couple good mornings. Good morning, Alan. How are you today? I'm not sure how you'll fit Texas into this conversation, but I figure you'll figure out a way. Good morning to Dave Guyette. Good morning, Neil Bush. The Knicks are still the Knicks. I mean, we'll get into it, but good grief. There you go. Thank you for the extra players. So I guess that's we got our obligatory Texas Ranger coming in, I think. Oh, no, maybe that was an Oklahoma City reference. Sorry. But anyway, good morning, Carlos. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Keith, how you doing?
I am doing fabulous. I stayed up way too late watching, like nothing happened last night. It was very interesting. So
I did the same. I don't know what I was hoping for, but I felt like the sky's still falling in New York for some reason.
I got to be honest with you. when we got to and we'll talk about the top of the draft too, but when they got to the Knicks and they took this guy from France, first, more context, I was like, are you kidding me?
You should have heard the crowd.
I know. How many guys are we going to pick from France that just don't work out? I mean, oh my God. But then again, it was a trade with
Charlotte.
No, wasn't that a trade with Sacramento? That trade was, I think, wasn't it? I don't know. They were up. Then they ended up with a 13th pick. And they don't even keep that pick. They trade that to the Pistons. And as it turns out, the Knicks just trade all the way out of the first round. They do get a second round pick, a nice guard out of Duke, but I don't know how much that's going to be worth. Second round picks in the NBA don't tend to be hugely productive, at least early. But I mean, this whole thing seems to have been to get salary cap to go after Brunson.
Yeah, to be honest with you, as a Knicks fan, I like Brunson as a player, but I don't think he's a fit here in New York. Like, everybody keeps talking about we need a point guard, but to what extent do we need a point guard that we don't use the draft picks that we already have gotten? And again, people keep saying we need a point guard, but Tibbs' system doesn't really require them to have a great point guard anyways. Tibbs' system requires the whole team to be under the age of 27, maybe 25, because the way he uses everybody on the roster. Like, so,
it's funny. I thought, and maybe I'm wrong, I really felt, that a certain player fell to 11. Obviously, when the Knicks fell through, there was talk early in the night that they were going to move up to get Ivy. When that didn't happen, I thought there was still a chance that if they picked what the heck's the guy's name now? Johnny Davis, the Big Ten Player of the Year. I felt if he fell one more spot, the Knicks may have taken him because he's a really good ball player. And I will tell you this too. One other thing before I let you comment. I got excited actually when the Knicks did when the oh gosh, I don't know if it was after the first trade, whoever picked behind them took the kid from Santa Clara, Jalen Williams. That was another guy that I thought would be a great fit for the Knicks. And I thought, hey, great, we're getting Jalen Williams. And
right.
No, we aren't really getting Jalen Williams. That wasn't what the trade was. I think everybody in the building probably thought the same thing because it was such a confusing turn of events. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on any of those players? Would they have been better than what the Knicks did here? And is there a guy outside of trading up that you would have liked to see the Knicks pick at that or take at that 11th pick?
Well, I mean, I like the fact that they shedded the contract money from Kemba Walker and that he's no longer in the team. Maybe another team can use him. He wasn't a fit for the Knicks in Tibbs' system or with the younger players. You could tell that when he was on the court. He's a guy that wants the ball in his hand but doesn't really need the ball in his hands. So some team's gonna have to figure out how to use him in their system. But bon voyage to Kemba Walker, right? In this draft, I would have been okay with the Knicks picking almost anybody except anybody from France, to be honest with you. And the reason I say that, they have a nice little core of young players, 6 players that need to see the court, that need to be on the court, and I think they can have a good core, and at least 3 of those players being together from the previous drafts. But we got to wait and see, what does West have in store for us, right?
Yeah.
And again, you have to see if Tibbs is willing to bend and not break, because the system that he has, like I said, it's not made for anybody over the age of 27. He's going to run these guys to the bone. So any pick would have, for me, any pick would have been okay. But
yeah,
you knew something had to happen for them to get rid of some of this weight that they have financially,
It's pretty bad when you got to give up your number 1 pick just to shed an $8 million contract of Kemba Walker.
I think it's good for the Knicks' sake if you think about it.
Well, no, I mean, I guess, I mean, you shed that. You don't take on the contract of a first rounder, I suppose, is another a plus to that. But you're certainly not improving your team unless you get Brunson or somebody who fits maybe even better than Brunson, and that turns out really to be your de facto number one draft pick, right?
Right. Again, we fans, we like and analysts, we like to see some of these players maybe on other teams, but if you break down and you look at the film, do we really need a guy like Brunson on the Knicks? Yeah, and then on the flip side, you hear of the leadership here talk about, well, Quigley could become better. He's doing good, but he needs to be on the court a lot more. What are we going to do with the rest of the guy, Mims? What do you have? What do you have in the store? The things that the Knicks should focus on right now is shedding the players that are hurting them, which is the veterans, contracts, and the fact that they're not healthy, they can't stay healthy. Rose, Gibson, they got rid of Nerlens, so that was good for them. Because he couldn't stay on the court, and he was costing them some money. So what are you going to do with Randall still? Those are things that are hurting the Knicks now more than the youth and the development. I've always said that in the NBA, there is you shouldn't be developing players. You should be ready to just have a team and go out and play. The G League is there for you to use. You have to use it to the full, capabilities. A lot of teams do. The Knicks don't.
Weren't there 3 picks from the G League last night in the draft? This is getting to be a trend now, right?
Yeah, so the players, the Knicks had like 2 or 3 players in the G League that could have helped them this past year. But again, it's not just an issue with scouting and development with the Knicks. It's the coaches' strategies and schemes that don't line up with the roster that he has, and he's not willing to change that. So
yeah. Just to address Neil's comment, AJ Griffin, there was a lot of talk about him during the day yesterday. I wasn't in love with the kid. He actually didn't have a great year last year with Duke, and he also, they've got a log jam at this small forward shooting guard position. I don't know, I would have added to it. So I'm not really unhappy about that. I really liked, as I said, the Jalen. Was it Jalen Williams? I keep forgetting. Jalen. There's a lot of Jalen's went last night. I really liked the Jalen Williams pick from Santa Clara. That again, I thought was going to be the next pick in that trade. I would have been very happy with that. Again, Neil also mentioned before they needed Ivy. Everybody needed Ivy. Ivy's a great player. The Pistons end up with him falling to 5. The Pistons had a great night last night.
I think the Pistons did the best last night, adding to Cabe. They already have from last year's pick. And what the Pistons did and what New Orleans has done is they made themselves a team similar to Boston.
Yeah.
And that's I think where the NBA is heading now, is like using that kind of strategy, get some young players in there, get them a few years, and then draft a couple more players if you fall down there, and just move guys around, because some of these contracts are top heavy. And as you can tell, like Kyrie Irving, I don't think any team wants to pick him up for what he's asking for, and the Knicks aren't a team that really need him or want to spend the money on him. So, and he wouldn't be a good fit anyway for Tibbs' system. So, all that talk for him, and that's another thing about Brunson. I like him. I like how he plays. I like his attitude, but he's not a fit for Tibbs' system. Like, I don't think it's worth even making all those moves if that's the guy you're targeting,
Yeah, Alan's asking about the biggest winners. We're talking about the Pistons. I thought the Pistons did the best as well. I thought the Rockets had a good night. I thought the 76ers had a good night. As maybe I think the Wizards did okay as well, by the way.
Okay, so my top 3 are Detroit, the Magic, and New Orleans. Like I think those 3 teams did good. And then the 4th, I have San Antonio as one of the teams that solidified their team a little bit. They're young, but they'll get it together. They have a great leadership team over there, and they're always under the radar, and they do good things for their players. So
yeah, I can't disagree with any of those. I mean, what about the were you shocked? I was at the top of the draft. There was a lot of whispers that Smith was not. Jabari Smith, who I still think is the best player in the country and the best player in this draft. I think the teams, not just one team, but two teams passed on him, as Holmgren went second and Antonio Banderas. What's the guy's name?
What I like were the comments by Pearl, like towards the end of before pre-draft was he's telling guys that Holmgren's too small and he might be injury prone, trying to compare him to the Stormer Mormon. What's his name? That the Nets picked Bradley, Deshaun Bradley and stuff. Just to get his guy to make sure that he stays up in the top two picks. But these guys are we don't know what to expect from these guys every year. So the top 5 guys were the top 5 guys in college basketball, and you could tell once Banchero went, like, how everybody got excited because it shifted players around, right?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. And again, I think he falls into a decent situation as well. Jalen Smith does. So, a guy that I love that nobody talks about is the guy who went 4th in Keegan Murray. I watched him play at Purdue. I watched a lot of Purdue games this year.
Yeah, I was going to say Keegan Murray.
I just love that kid, and I love his game. He can do so much. He could play point guard if he needs to play point guard, that kid. He could play anywhere on the floor. And, I was a little surprised that he isn't getting more. I mean, he went 4th, so it's not like he didn't get any love. But, we talked about Ivy, and the Knicks could have tried to move up for a guy like him as well. He would have been a great fit on this Knicks team. Again, they weren't bad enough to be in that position to draft this guy, though.
Right, and the one thing I want to see from the Knicks is these guys that they already picked on the court as much as possible, right? And that's one thing that's tough. So last night there was opportunities for the Knicks to do things, and they passed on getting younger as far as getting the younger, better talent, but they're still going to get a pick. And I think that helps a lot getting rid of Kemba Walker, to be honest with you.
Look, it had to shed themselves in a contract. And to answer, Ray's question, good morning, Ray Golick. Can they find, did they screw up? Yeah, but they screwed up, but the draft wasn't necessarily where they screwed up. It was taking on all these bad contracts. And the only way you can get rid of them is to trade a number 1 draft pick with the guy and don't get any players back. So it's just, the optics are just not good because It reminds you of every other Nick offseason in the last, I don't know, 30 years. Well, you say 50. I'll say they had some decent years there.
No, 15.
Yeah. At least since Phil Jackson came, since Isaiah Thomas came in, right? So that's all what's down.
Yeah. Like I keep telling people, Pat Riley being the coach, that was the last time the Knicks were actually halfway decent. So, I'll put it this way: it was last year we didn't know what to expect, and they ended up getting Fournier and Walker. So, Knicks fans, don't worry, the Twilight Zone will still continue, and by the beginning of next season, you will see that the Knicks have picked somebody up, and it might not be somebody you like, or it might be somebody you do like.
Well, I'm confident. I don't know if I'm confident. I'm hopeful that they've got an overall plan here, and they're going to make something happen here. Whether it's Brunson or somebody else, we need to look at it. I think I think this signals also. I think Thibodeau and the team likes Grimes. I think Quentin Grimes is going to be part of this team next year. And before I take Ray's comment down, I do want to push the Wish Fest for Ray. Check the website out. That's a pretty big. But if you click on the link in the comments, guys, you can see it. It's the Wish Fest presented by St. Mary's Hospital in Amsterdam. It's a music festival that raises money for some good causes around the Capital District. So please check that out. And the links will be on TGI Sports Talk as well. So thanks for stopping in, and thanks for doing all that hard work that you do as well, Ray. So
I think that
go ahead.
We should appreciate that the Knicks did something at all. So
actually, Neil's got a great point here as we're just talking about the story of the Knicks, always shedding bad contracts. That does seem to be their history for the last 2 decades. So I don't know when it's going to change. Listen, and Alan's got a comment here. He talks about that's a different one that I wanted. Thunder gave the Knicks 3 conditional first round. Yeah, conditional, by the way. They'll never be lottery picks. You know, they're going to be useless probably. Knicks will screw them up anyway. He talks about Holmgren was always going to go number 2 because he was the first guy in the draft board for the Thunder. I think you'll find out, Alan, passing up Jabari Smith for this guy. I think this guy will be a great player. Jabari Smith, I think, could be a generational player. It's possible. We'll see. They got to play. It's all conjecture now.
Right. And I think with Holmgren, I think he's going to come in and have a tough few years. And he'll be better on the back end than Jabari, but it's tough to tell right now. The NBA is so fluid in the fact that there's less defense anyways. And it's more running. So, you know, we'll see what will happen with Holmgren, but that's a solid number 2 pick for what he's accomplished so far, you know?
Yeah, you know, the problem with and I think this might be karma, Ray, because they are involved in a lottery a lot of years, and they never do well. Since the Patrick Ewing controversy with the folded corner on the card, if you remember back in the day when they pulled these big cards out, the rumors were that, you know, the card was tampered with, and the Knicks got Patrick Ewing because they knew which card to pull out for the Knicks. I don't believe that, by the way, but karma seems to have bitten the Knicks because every time they're in the lottery, they never end up with one of the top picks. They're always drafting 7 down at best. So
yeah, I mean, even with those picks, Keith, you would think we'd have had a championship by now.
Yeah, you would think so.
After the 70s, but you
know, it's only been 50 some years. I mean, for years, you remember when the Rangers used to talk about 1940, right before they won in 92 or 3, I can't remember.
Maybe it's the Garden. Maybe there's something there.
Maybe tear the damn thing down and build something new. I don't know.
They messed with such a beautiful building in Penn Station before the Garden was even, you know, erected.
That's a good point. Even when they cheated to get Ewing, they didn't get their trophy. I agree. Again, whether they cheated, if they cheat, by the way, let's remember something too. When I say somebody cheated, the Knicks didn't necessarily cheat. This would have been the NBA fixing the draft because they were the ones in charge of supposedly tampering with the card, so they knew which one to grab for the Knicks. Is there
a 30 for 30 on that?
I think there is. There's definitely something on ESPN where you can. Yes, there is a 30 for 30. Not necessarily about just that.
No, I think it's about the whole draft. I think.
Yeah, and it's very interesting too. And if you watch the video. I don't see anything wrong with the card. I'm missing something maybe, but people of a certain age probably go, "What the hell are these guys?"
Yeah, if you guys ever get stuck on a rain delay, or you're in an airport, or you can't find anything to do on the night, and the kids are asleep, ESPN 30 for 30s, check them out. A lot of them are great.
ESPN Plus is almost a must. Now they've raised the price of it $2 a month, but it's still, there's some great original programming there. Even outside of the 30/30s, there's some like 30 for 30 shorts and things that I didn't even know were there. You can always find some great stuff to watch. So good point. So the shameless plug for ESPN, who's not paying us a nickel.
Not paying us at all.
Darn it. And anyway, what are your final takeaways on the draft? Anything you want to finish up with here before we move on to?
Hey, the East is going to be a different animal this year. They're a little bit more parity. I see people following the Boston Celtics scheme of and ways of trying to build up their team, and you know, all you need is a coach at the end of the day when you have those young guys and a good and get ready to rock. And I think Detroit's going to be somebody that's going to cause havoc. They might not be in the playoffs, but they're going to probably mess up a lot of people's chances and opportunities.
Yeah, I'll tell you the guys I think will make of the top picks. I think Jalen Smith, Keegan Murray, and Ivy have the chance to make the biggest impact right away myself, but time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's see, one more comment from Alan before we move on. Knicks fans' emotional range anywhere from anger to depression every time the draft comes around. Yes, homicidal anger in some cases. So stay away from the city of New York for a couple of days.
That's the reason my name's called Man New Yorker.
Stay inside. Actually, let's touch real quick on this. I don't want to spend a lot of time necessarily. I know it was one of our original topics, and we're going to move off it. But the Nets didn't have any picks last night, so the only drama they had, and it was talked about a bit, is what's going to happen with Kyrie. He's talking about wanting to go back to the Lakers, or not back to the Lakers, but back with LeBron James with the Lakers. There's talk about him coming to the Knicks. please do not come to the Knicks.
We don't
Kyrie,
need you.
I will warn you. You're right. The earth is flat, and you'll fall off the earth from Barclays Center to Madison Square Garden. Don't come here. It's not a good fit for either one of these guys. He needs to get out of this city, in my mind. And I don't know. The Knicks are in a bad spot, or the Nets are in a bad spot here. Does Durant stay if Kyrie leaves? That's part of this drama right now.
Right. I think
hostage.
I think like right now Durant stays, and I feel like Kyrie's gonna stay. Because the Nets need at least two players on that team, right? To solidify an opportunity to get to a playoff. I think the talk is just to see what's available for him, because being in New York is overwhelming for anybody. And someone like Kyrie who wants to not be too much in the spotlight, he seems to find himself always in the spotlight.
Because he puts himself there. I mean, it's not like,
it's New York too, so it's kind of easy. Like he could go to, let's say he goes to buy a pair of sneakers for his nephew or somebody he knows, or for, one of the nonprofit organizations that he's, worked for. And then maybe he'll, say something to somebody, and all of a sudden it's news and it's everywhere. So it doesn't matter what Kyrie does in New York. He doesn't realize how big the spotlight is here. And for some people, it could be overwhelming. And it's sometimes not even about the sports, man. It's just like, leave me alone,
I mean, if he goes to LA, he'll probably find a lot more of his flat earth friends out there. But
what people don't understand about LA is probably a lot. It's easy. There's more space, right? So you'll see people here and there that are famous, but it's like Long Island, like you might see somebody, you might not. Like I was literally with my daughter yesterday. We were walking, around Fifth Avenue because she had a doctor's appointment, and I saw like three famous people, and I was thinking, hey, maybe I should say hi and get a selfie with them. But then I was like, you know what? They got stuff to do. I got to get to a doctor's appointment. Leave them alone, Yeah.
I mean, Ray's great point. If they want to trade him, they're not going to get value because nobody wants to take on his drama. He had his drama in Cleveland with LeBron, by the way. They did win a championship together. I'd be surprised that LeBron wants to revisit that myself, but we'll see. And he did I agree, everywhere he's gone, he's caused havoc. And Alan adds the fact that we don't even know what Ben Simmons, if he'll be back. So the Nets have themselves in a pretty big conundrum here. If they deal Kyrie, they may very well have to get rid of Kevin Durant as well.
Listen, I put it this way. If the Nets are negligent and get rid of Kyrie and try to put Ben Simmons in the point guard position, they will never see a finals, ever.
You don't think I think
Ben Simmons is not a point guard.
I think
the problem with the NBA and the coaching staffs are they forcing him to be in a position that he is not good at. He's an okay passer, but he needs to be a 3 or a 4. He cannot be running the floor at all.
Well, I'm not saying running the floor, but running the offense once you're on offense. So you could run a point forward. You don't have to put him a point guard. He could be a point forward, which is a position we used to have when the Rodney McRae's of the world were in the league. But you can still run the offense through that position. It doesn't have to go through the point guard.
If you've ever watched him play at LSU, and you saw him, you would see that when the ball gets to his hand, if he's ready to attack the basket, that's when he's best at. When the ball's in his hand, he's away from the basket, trying to make something happen. If he keeps the ball in his hands, he gets frustrated, and there's less movement. So he needs to be in movement with the ball in his hands, ready to score, or just shooting. But do not make him a point guard because he's not a point guard.
Well, if Durant and Kyrie, and again, I think Kyrie needs to go, but if Durant goes along with him, and it's not going to matter who plays point guard here, this team's in trouble for a while.
In fact, I'd rather have the ball in Durant's hands.
Yeah.
To make a pass to Ben Simmons in the inside or cutting in to make something happen. But
he doesn't want to shoot. He doesn't want to shoot the basketball.
It wasn't that he doesn't want to shoot. It was the fact that Doc kept telling him, hey, when you get the ball, try to make something happen. Right? So when you tell somebody that, the first thing in your mind is, okay, I gotta look for the wide open shot. You don't think, I'm gonna take the open shot, right? Because he's not, at the end of the day, he's not a shooter, but like he's not an attack first kind of guy, anyways, unless he's already in a run, like I said, attacking the basket. So, it's kind of the incident that happened on the 76ers is a little bit of everybody's fault, including Ben Simmons. But Doc not understanding who Ben Simmons was one of his biggest faults.
I'll bring this up. We didn't have it on our topics, but Alan's going to bring up Alan Westbrook or Russell Westbrook. Alan Westbrook. Who's Alan Westbrook? Russell Westbrook, who had a horrendous year in LA, and I don't know if it was a bad fit or he's fallen off the face of the earth. I mean, his numbers weren't atrocious, but for Russell Westbrook, they were awful. He's probably got to move on. I don't know about going back to Oklahoma City. It's probably not a great idea with that young team they're putting together, Alan. You like that young team you're putting together. I don't think throwing Russell Westbrook is the right thing for that.
No.
Look, and he does mention maybe he'll come back and retire as a Thunder, which is fine, but I don't think you want him playing there.
This guy's a triple-double machine, right?
Yeah, but you got to play one way to get all those numbers, and that's you're the guy, and I'm gonna dominate the ball.
Is there a reason why someone like Westbrook has been on so many teams that have been okay but haven't been good enough to get into a championship?
Yeah, because it's all about Russell Westbrook and not winning basketball games,
So, I mean, if there's a team that wants that, they can go ahead and do it. Pay his contract, put him on your team and see what he can do for you. But don't expect to be in a championship game,
They were close a few times in Oklahoma City.
But that was different because they were young, right? Yeah, and I think that was their downfall, was that they were young.
Yeah.
And the defense wasn't there because all three of them scored in all different ways, right?
Yeah. James Harden wasn't even James Harden yet then.
So. No, but even James Harden in on the Thunder, where he was making shots and getting those getting those points, averaging pretty decent points for coming off the bench. So but the defense was the one thing that got them at the end. You got to play defense. So
yeah. Let's shift gears totally away from the. Well, I got one more comment. Let's see what it is before I go. Oh, just my dad saying hello. Good morning, Bob. And
morning, Mr. Bob.
Good to be with us today, as always. My biggest fans, outside of you, Carlos. Let's move on. I want to talk about again. We have to talk about it. We've been talking about him a lot, but let's talk about Arch Manning makes his decision.
Woo, Texas!
After having. I talked about it Wednesday night on the college football huddle. He had a great visit to Texas. Seemed to love it. He loves the city.
He's been there 4 times, though.
He's been there crazy. 4 times. He's built by all accounts that I can read, he built up a very good relationship with both Steve Sarkisian and Milwee, the quarterback coach. He likes, and again, Austin is supposedly, again, he wants a place with a good college environment. Austin has that. It seems like he wanted to pave his own way rather than go the way I talked about with Ole Miss or Tennessee, or even going with a big school like Georgia or Alabama,
or even Notre Dame. I mean,
or Notre Dame. They were never really
serious. No, he wasn't going to go to Notre Dame. Listen,
but the family all met Steve Sarkisian. I've been tough on Steve Sarkisian, but they all checked yes. The 4 major players that were influencing him all said yes to Steve Sarkisian. Steve
Sarkisian needs to thank all the stars and whatever he's on, because he's had a long road to get to where he's at to begin with. That whole situation in Washington.
Yep.
And moving on from there, and
USC was a bigger mess than Washington.
Than USC again, yeah. So, I was hoping when he went down to Texas, let this not be let this be something that he can not make a mistake at, because Texas has been hurting after the whole Mac situation, him leaving and stuff. So, I don't know, man. Could Sarkisian be looking for a trip to the NFL if Archie does well?
Archie, yeah, he's got a year to wait for him, obviously, and he's got Ewell's coming in from Ohio State transfer, so he could have an interesting quarterback situation in 2 years. I mean, and one of them, well, I shouldn't say one of them. We know which one will be leaving if I don't know if I'm saying his name right. Ewell. Trying to find his name now here, and I can't find it, but they brought him in to be the starting quarterback this year from Ohio State, and it's going to be very interesting how he plays and whether that affects his play this year, knowing Arch Manning's coming in behind him. Now, all of a sudden, there's a lot more pressure. You got pressure.
I'll be upset because the NIL money ain't going to balance out my hopes and dreams of being the best paid quarterback in football.
College football history, you tell me the best paid. We're going to go down the NIL road on
that matters to Arch and to Texas.
Arch is going to make his money. He's going to make more money than the NIL could ever even think about paying him in college once he moves on to the next level. So I don't think that has anything to do with his decision.
You might not think that, but Grandpa and Papa Manning know.
They all got more money than God. What do they need that money for?
Money begets more money, man. It doesn't matter how much you have. What matters is how much you keep rolling in.
Let's see what we got here. A couple of comments. Now, you mentioned something last night to me, and while I'm looking for a comment here, you mentioned that he went there because his best friend went there. I couldn't.
His best friend. Well, that's the thing that I was going to mention to you is that his best friend. He ended up committing, and then the day before. And then Arch was like, if my friend's going there, I won't mind going there because I've been there already. I already know what they have to offer. So, I just don't feel like Texas is a good fit for him, to be honest with you. And even if he didn't go to an SEC school, I just think he should have done something. I mean, don't get me wrong, him going to Texas, I commend him because he's doing something outside of what people were expecting to do, which I said would happen, right? But I was hoping that he would go to like Oregon or Stanford or something. Just do something for you, man. And because no matter where you go, you're gonna get your deals. So
yeah, I don't think he was ever
gonna. But I don't feel like. Again, they always Texas is one of those. I don't know. I mean, where do you see Texas rank in the last 2 years, and now Arch Manning will be here in the next 2 years, right? In the next year and a half, too. Right?
Yeah. And again, they brought in a top transfer quarterback this year, so they want to win now. And again, this does buy Steve Karsasian time, by the way, because no matter what happens with Texas this year, there's no way Texas is firing him and risk losing Arch Manning in 20.
That's another reason why I'm like, Karsasian needs to thank the heavens because
he was probably going to be on the hot seat if they didn't.
He's been on the hot seat for the last 2 seasons.
Now, we talked about. Now, I do think there's an element to this, and I'm a little surprised. I thought I probably, where I wanted to go. I said I like stories, right? And I'm not saying the best choice for him necessarily would be Ole Miss or Georgia, whatever. Right. I think good stories are good. So this is similar to the Ole Miss story. I want him to go there where his father went to school, where his grandfather went to school. Mm-hmm. And how cool would that be to lead them to even just a major bowl game or getting to an SEC championship game? It'd be a great story. Now, in the same vein, Texas has been down for a long time. And they only had even before Mac Brown, they were down before that.
Right.
More often than not, the last 30 or 40 years or more, let's say 30 years, Texas has not been an overwhelming powerhouse in the college football landscape. If he can restore prominence to there over a period of time, that's a good story for college football, especially with them moving to the SEC. This was a huge move for Texas.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'm not feeling this commitment because I feel like there are more people taking advantage of this situation than Arch himself. And again, he could have gone anywhere and he could do anything he wants. We'll see we'll see how it pans out, right? Because
now the thing we have to remember too is with the transfer portal, this isn't even set in stone. Who knows what anything could happen that could upset this balance right now. I mean, the kid they bring in from Ohio State could have a tremendous year, win the Heisman Trophy, and now what are you going to do? Maybe Arch says, I'm going to go somewhere else. But we'll see. I mean, a lot of things can happen. Let's see. We got a couple. Alan's got a couple of comments here. He feels they can build around him next year. Well, they can't build around him. He's not there. They can get ready for him.
Yeah.
This team is probably not going to be that good this year, but we'll see. And Vegas, he says Vegas has Texas odds-on favorite to win the Big 12. again, Arch Manning's not there yet. So I don't know why they would be the favorite to win right now over your team, Alan, Oklahoma.
I feel like Oklahoma has a better chance of winning 12 than.
I think Oklahoma State and Baylor both, as Alan says, both are better than Texas, at least again on paper. We got to play the games, right. So we'll see what happens. But Kenny calls it 1 year and done. I don't think he can be 1 year and done.
Isn't it two at least?
I think you're depending on. It's at least 2 years. Yes, you can't come out after 1 year. That's only in basketball. Yeah. So in fact, there's a kid this year in the draft. I don't remember who it was. He didn't ever play. He committed to Kentucky in January. Never played a game, but he has been out of high school for a year.
Sounds like Kyrie, right?
Similar to the
games at Duke.
He did play at Duke. This kid never stepped on the court for Kentucky. But again, the rules are it's really a year out of high school. So a lot of these kids are, like we talked about earlier, going to the G League and playing there rather than going to college.
That's what the NFL needs. I keep saying that.
Yeah. Oh, Kenny's talking about the portal. He'll transfer after
the portal.
Yeah. So look again, that's part of the problem. We sit here and we have these discussions about guys and how their career is going to go at whatever school we're talking about. And
I can see something like that happening in Arch, to be honest with you. I mean, look what happened with Sims' sons, right? One of them committed to Penn State, and then he ended up leaving after an injury or after being redshirted. So, and that was before the portal.
Yeah, he went to Tennessee, didn't he? I think
Texas, right?
Oh, Texas, right. I don't remember which one it was. He had two kids that played in college, Chris and can't remember the other kid's name.
Is it Matt Sims?
Maybe. I thought one went to Tennessee. I could be wrong.
No Sims went to Tennessee.
No. Oh, you would know that. Yeah. Yep. I forgot about your Rocky Talk connections there.
They had Eric Ainge, which is Danny Ainge's nephew.
Well, that'll get you a long way in college football. Big name in college football, Danny Ainge. Anyway, I was trying to think of I had an out here and I don't remember what it was now. We're going to find out. We're going to invest a lot of time here, and we still got, a year and a half almost before he
and he has time to break his commitment. So
as many kids do. So let's stay tuned. Kenny may be wrong. He may not even make it a year. Let's move on to some talk about the Yankees and the Mets, both doing extremely well. That's not it. Where the hell's my?
I don't know. The Mets didn't do too well against the Astros in that series.
No, but look, the Mets have got some issues right now. So that's what we want to talk about. The trade deadline's pushed to August 3rd this year, but a lot of teams, I think you're going to see teams start to make moves here in the next, few weeks. The teams that think they're in position or need to get into position, I think are going to move early, which will force other teams. I do think the Yankees and Mets will both need to make some adjustments here. We'll start with the Mets because that's what you brought up. They've got some issues that they need to deal with. They've got their starting pitching is certainly suspect because of injury issues. I do think they need some power because other than Alonso, who's leading the National League, I think, in home runs, they really don't have that big stick. They got good hitters.
Right.
They don't have that big stick in their lineup, and I think they need to go there. I really think here's a guy, and you may think I'm crazy because he's not setting the world on fire in Washington, but a professional hitter like Nelson Cruz would be a perfect fit for the Mets, I think. And it wouldn't cost you hardly anything.
Right. Nelson Cruz, 43-year-old, 44-year-old?
Yeah, well, he's probably 40, but look at the guy produces everywhere that he goes.
Yeah. You know what I think is like the lineups that he's been with has gone his favor, right? He's always been surrounded by he's always been behind like a home run hitter. Or a good hitter, so the pitchers just get tired of pitching, and when he comes up, he takes advantage.
There's Kenny just verifying our Sims. I do remember that now that we've talked about it. So Scherzer's coming back soon, yes, but again, he's 38 years old.
Mets just lost Cookie Carrasco for back issues, right?
DeGrom, I think, is pushed back till late July at best. Who knows what you're going to get there? They need some pitching, and a guy like the guy from Oakland, Manoah, however you say his name, he's going to get traded, he'd be a good fit for the Mets. I don't think he'd be a great fit for the Yankees myself, but because I don't think they're going to go starting pitching. I think they've got some depth in-house.
In the pitching, you think they're okay with the pitching?
If they need there, I think what you'll see here once the bullpen gets healthy is they may send Clark Schmidt down to stretch him out. Clark Schmidt's a starter. He's done very well in the bullpen this year, but he's a starter, and they sent him down once this year with the idea of stretching him out, and then they had to bring him back for bullpen help. He's a guy that could step in. You don't know that Herman's not going to come back and maybe be able to contribute in the second half. And I don't have any reason right now to think necessarily my starters are going to break down. They've made it through almost half a season and really been pretty healthy. Knock on wood.
Britain, right?
Yeah, so I think there's some depth in house. I don't think the Yankees need to go there. The Yankees need to go.
I think they should make a splash.
I think they should make a splash and trade Joey Gallo for whatever.
They're not going to get anything for Joey Gallo. I mean,
I don't care what it is. My splash is just getting rid of him, getting him off this team.
You get Torres. You're going to get at least one good pitcher.
But then you weaken your team.
You don't weaken the team. You have depth in that position.
Who? You got DJ. That's it. You're not going to bring the kids up to play in the middle of this pennant race. You're just not. I don't see
what I'm saying is that in the future you already have guys Peraza and you have Volpe that are there for next season. You don't have to worry about Glaber anymore. You're good.
I will tell you one thing right now. Whatever moves the Yankees make at the trade deadline will not have the future in mind even a little bit. It'll be all about winning a World Series this year because they have not won in 13 years. They have only been to one World Series in 20-some years.
Yeah, I mean, I think they still need one good starting pitcher, to be honest with you.
Well, they may bring in a guy, but I don't think it's going to be one of the big names. I mean, I think they could go after, there's a few guys I had on my list. Some of the guys I get scared about that I see. That Montas they might bring in. I see Andrew Haney because Andrew Haney I do not need to see back in pinstripes. That's all I need to see. I don't care if he's had a decent year this year.
Yeah, don't bring him back.
Honest from the Pirates because he's going to get traded.
Yeah,
this is typical. The typical moves the Yankees bring in. Overpaid older guys who they call innings eaters. I don't need guys to eat innings if their innings suck.
Would you pick up Hader?
Who?
Hader from the Brewers.
Oh, if he was available in a heartbeat, but I don't think he's going to be available. They're in the middle of the pennant race too. They're looking to win. I think the guys you can look at the Yankees looking at are guys like Robertson coming back from the Cubs, he's had a very good year out there. I think you can see them looking at Victor Robles as outfield help from Washington because they need help in center field and left field. That's without a doubt. And maybe even Ian Happ from the Cubs. I could see both the Mets and the Yankees being interested in Ian Happ. He plays everywhere. And he's a pretty good offensive ball player, too. So I think I could see these teams looking at all those guys. The Mets need that big bopper. That's their thing. Yeah,
but and they got Smith. They brought Smith back up, which is good for them, I think. And they got Enciarte, sent them down to the minors. So I don't know. It's tough, man. It's tough because we're not even in July yet, right?
Right. And again, you may not be able to wait because teams are going to pull the trigger early and and you're going to have to overpay because the problem is now with the expanded playoffs, more teams are going to be buyers and sellers. So the guys that are available, their price tags are going to be overinflated. Kenny's right. I think the Mets need to hang on until the pitchers come back. But Kenny, it doesn't change the fact that they still need to find a way to score a few more runs. While I love the way they play baseball and they generate runs, they manufacture runs, you still can use that one more big bat, I think, to go with Alonso.
Kenny, to be honest with you, if the Mets can hold off on Scherzer and DeGrom until the middle of August, I'll be okay with that. I don't want to see these guys not be in the actual playoffs if the Mets make it. Yeah. That's where I stand as a fan. I'm like, if the Mets can hold off, great. But if they have to bring them back, bring them back. But, I know we need to get to I know that the Mets need to get to the playoffs. But again,
I don't think they win a World Series without DeGrom coming back. I really don't.
Yeah, but what if, the what ifs is what is the determining factor here. You know,
Yeah,
that kid from Vanderbilt was the Mets dropped him. He's playing independent ball right now.
yeah. I thought I read something about him playing. The independent league. It's not here in Troy. I don't think he's playing somewhere though. I think
No, but he was playing pretty well too.
he might be playing in the same league that the Valley Cats play in here. Alan talks about 9 different teams winning a World Series since the Yankees won in 2009, which, baseball's wanted parity for a long time, and they got it.
Look, Keith, your secret weapons are Hicks and Gallo, okay? And I know you don't like them.
Your weapons. What do you?
What did Hicks do last night?
One night.
Against the Astros. Against the Astros.
You're typical.
The best pitching team right now in the Major League Baseball. The Astros.
You're so typical of the guys who make excuses for both Gallo and Hicks. Anytime they have a good game, Joey Gallo had 2 good games. He's still got freaking 7 home runs and 10
they both need to be sent somewhere else.
They're hitting a combined 190. Oh God, it's ugly, man. Kenny hopes. I hope 20 win before the Yankees change their name. Yeah, he's upset, and he's also apparently offended by the name Yankee. I understand, Kenny. I know you're very thin-skinned about these things. And I got to give Alan his due here, because he's got to talk about the Rangers. Listen, the Rangers, I'll give you credit. I know we're talking about the Mets and the Yankees, but the Rangers keep hanging around 500. They're making some moves. They're going to be in the playoff hunt. They're going to be buyers. And yes, Alan, every single guy we sent you for Joey Gallo is almost every single guy is contributing to the limited success your team is having.
And listen, the Giants are going to set themselves up to maybe pick up Mr. Aaron Judge. We're going to see how he feels about his situation after today, because today is the day that he has to go and deal with arbitration, right? Him and his team.
Every time I start to talk, I find a comment from Alan talking about what I just talked about. I like Duggar, by the way. I think that's a good trade for the Rangers. Back to Judge. Look, at Judge is having, if he continues what he's doing, it's just going to be a historical season. He's going to be making more money than Mike Trout. Whether it's going to be a matter of where he makes it. Yeah. But again, he's going to get more money playing in New York because he's just more valuable to the Yankees than to somebody else.
Yeah, I don't think so.
The history and being a face of this franchise.
The problem is that the Yankees already gave him an offer, so they're not going to backtrack that, because that's not how they deal with things. And
he's getting $10 billion more than $30 million a year right now. I can guarantee you, unless something drastic happens.
The Angels, the Giants, and the Dodgers can all 3 of them offer him more than what the Yankees offer him, and they'll probably give him 5 to 6 years.
They will.
Even though he wants 8 to 10.
If that happens, the Yankees have made a horrendous mistake. This year tells you everything you need to know about how important this guy is to this team. Is he solely responsible for them having 51 wins or whatever it is already? No.
But maybe 10 of those.
2 wins. But yeah, the starting pitching's been very good. The defense is better. But when you got 2 big holes in your lineup like Gallo and Hicks, you need a guy like Aaron Judge, and he comes up big almost every single time he needs to. You watch the other night when they bring him off the bench where they had a chance to tie the score. I don't think anybody thought that ball was still in the ballpark when he hit it.
That's a tremendous home run. I mean.
Yeah, he's just had a tremendous year, and if he continues this, he's going to make $40 million a year, and the Yankees are nuts if they let him go.
The Yankees will probably not pay that.
This team's worth $10 billion. That's peanuts to them.
It's not even about that. It's just
as we talked about, they recoup their money in 2 years in merchandising and marketing endeavors. Come on,
they probably have a plan. I feel like they're looking to the future. They're going to probably sign Juan Soto to make sure that the seats in Yankee Stadium stay filled. They'll be okay. No matter what the Yankees do, they're going to be okay. They're the Yankees.
Kenny's on fire here a little bit. I think Alan didn't quite get the shot he took at him. The Rangers are not a AAA team. Let's be fair. I think, Alan, I'm pretty sure you probably missed it, that Kenny just took a swipe at your team. He wasn't asking where their AAA team was. Oh, anyway. All right, Carlos, we got a couple minutes left. What else is on your mind today? What else can we fill in with here for a couple minutes? You guys can throw out a topic if you want a couple answers. We can.
When we just start talking about what's going to happen in the World Cup come to the United States.
Oh, yeah. So
it's a big deal.
Where are the venues again? Do you have them off the top of your head? I know
one will be here in New York, of course. Maybe.
They were announced last week. I think the venues that they're going to play at. New York wasn't involved, I don't believe. But it's a big deal.
Well, not New York, but the Meadowlands.
I got a great question for you. And again, well, it's got to be a short answer because we only got a couple of minutes. And maybe we'll take this up at another time. But the World Cup, so soccer, I don't want to say nobody cares about soccer in this country until the World Cup comes around. But once the World Cup comes around, everybody's a soccer fan, even people who deride soccer all the time.
Because it's the biggest competition. It happens only every 4 years, man.
Yeah.
It's like you're patriotic, it's like your country's in it to win it, and everybody has a chance until they don't, right? Until they get kicked out.
I was wrong. So MetLife is, well, that's not New York. So
no, it's not New York. I said New York because New York teams play there, but
so
sue me, Alan, sue me, right?
It's a New York area, but yeah, you don't want to get sued for saying it's in New York, the World Cup. Alan, be careful what you say because we're a very litigious society here. So you got a good point. I mean, patriotism, but it doesn't explain to me how people that I know.
But you have to understand too that more than 3/4 of the U.S. population is second generation or less.
Yeah, but they're already interested in soccer, right? And again, I'm not saying there aren't. There's some places up here in the capital area. There's a place called Wolf's Beer Garden, and they've got 3 or 4 locations around here. And their big draw is soccer. People go in to watch the soccer matches that are being played in Europe and South America and wherever else they're showing the games from. That's their big draw, and they pack them in there. And when it comes to the World Cup, you won't even be able to get near these places.
No, I mean, and it's the World Cup, man. It's like it takes the teams take 2.5 years to qualify for it, and then like a lot of teams right now that people thought would be in there are not in there. Italy's not going to the World Cup. Colombia's not going to the World Cup. So but the teams that are in, man, they're vested, bro. And these and fans from all over the world, they make it a point to go to these games and follow their teams. The Netherlands have a great following. German.
England was very big too.
Yeah, England. So these guys, they follow their teams, and it's a great sports celebration, to be honest with you, because it's worldwide. That's what I like about it. It's not just like the United States. It's everybody, and everybody has fun with it too.
Yeah, it is. I get into watching the World Cup, and I don't even understand half of the game's not over, and you go into extra time, and nobody really knows how much time's left. That's always one that boggles my mind.
No, I mean once you understand the timing of the games and how they're played, it's only a 90-minute game.
Yeah.
To begin with, and the extra time is there if there's a playoff. If not, then it's a draw, and it's not that hard to follow. And look, this is how crazy the World Cup is, right? So when it's not in the United States, people would wake up in the middle of the like early morning, or stay up really late to watch it. When it was in South Africa, or when it was in Korea and Japan, or early in the morning when it was in Europe, or even in Russia. So like, people make the schedule around what's going to happen. Yeah. This winter break or this winter holidays coming up, I will not probably do anything with the family unless there's a World Cup match on, to be honest. Because I mean, they changed the time frame. It's usually in the summer, but they moved it because Qatar is like in the middle of the desert. So but this time,
when does it start? In the fall?
Yeah, it'll be in November.
Oh, that late? Okay.
It's all around from November to December. So we're gonna have a holiday World Cup celebration.
Kenny, I do know what the extra time is. My question is always, when they're in extra time, there's no way, nobody ever knows how much time is left until
just your referee. The players know, the coach and the referees know.
How come I don't know? That's the question. The whistle blows, game's over, right? Out of nowhere. So anyway, listen, we'll talk more about the World Cup and lots more about all the topics we talked about today, I'm sure, later on. Carlos, I want to thank you for your time this morning. Kenny and Alan and Neil and whoever else may have participated, and all those that you will see this later, and all the groups that will share this show or allow me to share this show.
Go Yankees, let's go Mets. Let's go New York.
Have a great weekend. It's going to be the heat's finally coming here, the Northeast, so get ready. Keith Engel for Carlos Chavez for Are You Serious? TGI Sports Talks Are You Serious right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Have a great weekend.